If the Tar Heels want to keep playing next week, that means they got to take care of business this week, and that starts today with Notre Dame.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch to get your Wednesday going the right way. And it's game day. Boom. Excited for that. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course, our great insiders. This episode is brought to you by TurboTax. You ready for stress-free taxes and the most money back guaranteed? Head on over to TurboTax.com today and get matched with your tax expert. Well, folks, today we are joined by our guy, Coach Bill Robinson, who has already passed his conference tournament and is headed off this week to play in the NAIA National Tournament. That's right, the Milligan Buffs are on the way to doing it. We're going to talk about that later in the show, hear how the prep's been going, hear how Coach is feeling about the game. So excited for Milligan and this opportunity. And we said it, I think, earlier in the week, but just a reminder, Coach Pat Kilby's team won the state tournament last week. All our buddies are having great postseasons. It's just so, I love it, Coach. I'm so happy for you and so happy for Pack and it's just great. And I love it. You guys, where we're going on the show today, though, we'll have our Four Corners preview. We're not going to go really in depth on like the whole thing that we do with the team we haven't played before, because obviously Carolina and Notre Dame have already played this year. Thank you to Elliot Cadeau for that crazy 4-point play to help wrap up that game. Speaking of which, Coach, we're going to have to talk about the end of Notre Dame's game on Tuesday. I don't know if you caught that, and if not, I'll set it up for you, but it was crazy stuff. But here's where I want to go first. Coach, obviously Carolina is in a precarious scenario right now. Very much right on the cut line of the bubble, one side or the other, seeming right now like it might be the wrong side of the bubble. And so the looming question is, can the Tar Heels do enough this week to make it to next week? What do you think?
I think they can, and it's the urgency that you talked about that's going to have to come out. And it's got to be one game at a time, one possession at a time. Let the assistant coaches worry about 2, 3, 4 games down the road. The head coach and the players got to focus on that first game, that first 5 minutes, whatever, that first 4-minute segment before the media timeouts. But it's the little things. It's the effort. It's the focus. It's the execution. It's the little things that they need to do right now to make sure they don't get too far ahead of themselves, looking at having to win the whole tournament. Let's just play really good defense the first couple possessions and make some shots, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been those hot, obviously they didn't do it against Duke, but it's been those hot starts that have really helped Carolina get out and going and build a big lead and then be able to extend it. So I love that. What do we have to do to possession after possession, just start pushing this thing out here right out of the gate? I think that's great, Coach, especially when you're playing a team that has already played a game the day before, and now you're having to come in and do it. Are there any wrinkles to that, Coach, where you have, it's like at one level, you have the advantage because you didn't have to play yesterday. At another level, the other team might have an advantage because they built some momentum by winning yesterday.
Yeah, I think that first, like, again, we're talking about that first 4 minutes. Let's get after them a little bit. Maybe a little full court man. We don't have to press and trap and do anything crazy, but let's check their legs out a little bit. Some of those guys played a lot of minutes. We got a day off, practice day. And I think that's where you have to start looking into some of that things. But we saw NC State, of course, last year, do their thing. And sometimes when you get momentum, that's a really positive thing. So I think those type of issues, who played yesterday, who didn't get to play, I think it just comes down to basketball. Let's just go play. Let's forget about trying to get advantages here and there. Let's just take our guys, play your guys, and see who's better.
Man, that's really good. Yeah, I'm looking at Notre Dame's minutes from Tuesday's game. Mataloko played the most at 35, but 3 other starters were in the 30s. I was really hoping that game was going to go to overtime, but whatever, it didn't. We'll talk more about that later. Coach, here's what I want to ask you. not focused on the Notre Dame game. I want to zoom out and go big picture on this thing, because if we're talking about, can Carolina do enough this week to make it to next week? Obviously, it starts with Notre Dame, right? Like, you can't get to Duke or to Wake Forest on Thursday without taking care of Notre Dame first. So at a big picture level, Coach, I want to ask you, what are 3 things that you would love to see the Tar Heels, again, at a big picture level, focus on this week?
Yeah, first one for me is valuing the basketball. You got to get shots every time, especially tournament time. You've got to be able to limit turnovers, not just limit turnovers, but get good shots. There's sometimes a bad shot is just it's the same as having a turnover, but it just comes in a different way. Really focusing on execution. Everybody knows what you're running at this point. You've already played somebody once or twice, depending on scheduling. You have to be able to execute your stuff, knowing the other team knows what's coming. And if you execute it the proper way, think about the old Boston Celtics teams back in the 60s and 70s. They ran very simple stuff. They didn't run a whole lot of stuff, but they executed it so well, you really couldn't stop it. So you just hope they miss shots. So it's a big thing for me. I want to see them execute. I want to see them, get good shots and make great decisions. That's the first point.
Man, yes, 100%. Like, and Carolina's been up and down with that lately, right? Like, was it Virginia Tech or Duke? I think it was the Duke game. They only had 6 turnovers in that game. They had 3 early. Like we had talked about in our setup of the Duke game, like, can't do that like you did against Duke round 1. I was very worried, Coach, early on, but then they cut those turnovers and didn't have any until I think the next one was like 11 minutes left in the second half. So really good job there. And then I would just add on also, when you get them from the other team, got to take advantage and get those second chance points. Those are key in a game like this. Love that point, Coach. Value the basketball. What's next?
Defensive intensity. And that's been a big part of what we've been talking about with the Buffs lately. But can you get people out of what they like to do? We flip the coin. We know what people are going to run. We know what their favorite sets are. We know how they're going to attack certain things. Can we get them out of their stuff? Can we make the non-scorers have to score? Can we get the main scorers not to be able to get maybe as many shots and force somebody else who maybe doesn't like the role of scoring as much and force them into having to be more of an impact type player? So those are the things scouting reports come with, and being able to adjust defensively to what the other team is trying to do. But that defensive intensity's got to go up high. Of course, it's tournament time. It should be, but it's not just flying around the gym. It's being able to execute defensively, just like you want to execute offensively.
Yes, critically important. Obviously, Carolina can score, Coach. They've been doing it phenomenally well lately. Obviously, dropped off a little bit there against Duke on Saturday, but man, the offense is rolling, and we need the defense to match that. What's the third thing that you're looking for this week?
The last thing is just finishing possessions. There's nothing worse than playing that intense defense for 25 seconds and then giving up an offensive rebound. You got to be able to rebound, finish those possessions. And that's what leads to, transition opportunities and offense down the other end. So, but getting those rebounds, battling for every single one of them, limiting offensive rebounds for your opponent, and rebound and run. And that's what Carolina wants to do.
And look, obviously Notre Dame is not a great offensive rebounding team, but so what? You throw the stats out because we're starting over. It's tournament time. You got to go and get that defensive rebound and not let anybody take that out. Like, that is my ball every single time, Coach. I love all 3 of those points. So, folks, just to recap, Coach's 3 big things he needs to see from the Tar Heels this week: value the basketball, defensive intensity, and finish every possession. Man, I love those. I'm going to be watching for that every game the Tar Heels play this week, which is hopefully a lot of games this week, Coach. All right, look, next we got to get to our Four Corners preview of this game. Coach, it's time for RJ Davis to have an RJ Davis game. We're going to talk about that and much more coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about TurboTax, Texas was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting and wondering and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. There's no waiting, no wondering, and no worrying. Now, This is taxes. Get an expert right now on TurboTax.com, which is only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app, and you can see the guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Coach Rob, it's time to get into our Four Corners preview for this game. Looking ahead, very specific. We were just going general. Now we're going to go specific to Carolina and Notre Dame tipping this afternoon, Coach, on Wednesday. What is the first thing of the Four Corners preview that you're looking for?
I'm looking for RJ Davis to be RJ Davis. I want to see him. This is his swan song. This is it. This is his last opportunity. I want to see him just go off and be RJ Davis the way we've seen him be. So I look for him to be aggressive, look for him to be, really just in attack mode, but also be able to share the basketball. I don't think it's just about points. I just want to see him play a complete game at both ends of the floor.
Man, yes, 100%. That's got to happen. I thought Saturday, Coach, was going to be that game, right? Had 20 points with still like 17 minutes to go, and then Duke just shut RJ's water off. And so hopefully he will be as hot as he was in the first half of that game for the entirety of this one. Part of that for me, Coach, is the second point of the Four Corners preview. Carolina has to attack, and then attack some more. Here's why I say that, Coach. When we dive into the numbers, one of the things people might not realize about this Carolina team, I think because they're smaller and don't have the size that we're used to, I think we often think like Carolina's maybe not as good inside. Folks, this Tar Heels team is 41st in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage at 55.4%. That ain't just because they're taking a whole bunch of mid-range shots. That's because they're getting to the rim and finishing, or getting, close enough to where they're finishing at a high level with a high percentage. Now, here's the flip side of that you need to know. Notre Dame is very agreeable on 2-point field goal defense, Coach. They allow their opponents to shoot 53.7% from two. That's 288th in the nation. So this is one of those glorious things where it's not strength on strength. It's strength on weakness, and Carolina has to recognize that. Obviously, they're going to have been talking about this. They've seen the numbers. They know it even better than we do. But the Tar Heels cannot settle for bad shots. That's part of what happened to lose that 7-point lead they had against Duke. A couple different players just started settling, and that's when things fall apart. If you got the open look from three in rhythm, take it. Otherwise, space the floor, get to the rim, get fouled, finish, or kick out. That's what I'm looking for, Coach. And how does the free throw line factor into all that as well, Coach Rob?
Yeah, I think the movement, I'd like to see more ball movement, more body movement, opens up the gaps. Then all of a sudden you have the opportunity to drive to the basket. Then you get fouled. But I think part of the back to the Duke game, we got standing still too much, got a lot of one-on-one. That's not what we want. So the attack, I think it's got to be a team attack, not individually attack.
That's the word. Got to keep the ball moving. I mean, we all saw the difference in good Carolina and bad Carolina, all within that one half of basketball in the second half. We'll keep our eyes out for that. Coach, what is the third point in the Four Corners preview for this game?
To me, it's tempo. And it's not just playing fast. Everybody talks about wanting to play fast. I want to control tempo. Play fast when we want to play fast, play slow when we want to play slow. And to be able to dictate that, you've got to be able to make shots. And then you can dictate, do we want to pressure up? Do we want to sit back? All the different things that you can, but you got to be able to take care of the basketball, make shots, and then dictate tempo depending on what you want to play. Obviously, with them playing, the day before, gives us an opportunity to maybe play a little bit more defensively up tempo. But we want to control tempo. Whatever we decide we want to do, I think that controlling tempo is going to be a huge key.
I'm so glad you're talking about this because there's something I've been wanting to ask you. Obviously, Carolina has been pressing more lately. But, Coach, it's pretty predictably only after free throw makes, right? Like, as an opponent, like, is it still effective when if they make a free throw, they're going to press us, and there's not really the element of surprise with it ever. If you're an opposing coach, are you concerned with it?
Not now. Not right now. We're not, because it is predictable, and you can almost tell by who they're lining up on the free throw line where they're going to press, where they're not going to press, and that's usually a tip if you're really trying to figure out what they're going to do. Again, I would love to see them do a little bit more run and jump, maybe a little bit of trap in the half court, maybe trap ball screens more. You're still pressuring, but it's not predictable. And again, the element of surprise has got to be part of when you decide to trap. But again, I love the half court trap stuff. You're going to, still get some effect. You're still going to get some turnovers. You're still going to get people uncomfortable, but you're not going to give up those easy buckets. The dunks. You may give up a three, hopefully a contested three, but man, I'd love to see them do some more of that stuff.
Man, yes, absolutely. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that, and to the point of just the typical tempo things that we think of, Coach. As we look at Notre Dame, they are 307th in the nation in adjusted tempo, while Carolina is 31st in the nation in adjusted tempo. Carolina averaging 70.6 possessions there, while Notre Dame is 64.9, and so that in and of itself tells some of the difference for us in this thing. All right, Coach, let's get to Four Corners preview point number 4, the last one of this thing. And it is the key, going back to defensive intensity that you're looking for all week long from the Tar Heels. It focuses on one man in this basketball game, and his name is Marcus Burton. Let's remember when Carolina played Notre Dame at Notre Dame back on January 4th, Marcus Burton was just getting back from an injury, hadn't played since November 26th before that against Rutgers in their MTE. Marcus Burton comes back in that game, Coach, plays 23 minutes, scores 23 points against the Tar Heels, and basically Carolina did not have an answer for him. He gets to the free throw line a bunch in that game. I'm looking back at the numbers here real quick. 10 times, made 9 of them. So Carolina's got to find a way to slow Marcus Burton down, Coach. He's the third leading scorer, not in the ACC, in the nation. He is the ACC's first leading scorer, the third leading scorer in all of Division I. How on earth do you maybe not stop him, but at least slow him down and contain Marcus Burton?
You don't want to make it so much of an emphasis that you don't guard everybody else. So you still want to put your best defender on him and just okay, you're going to stay with him. You do what you're going to do, but we're going to stay within our defensive concepts. We don't want to, get a box and one or do something that's drastically different than what we normally do. So stay true to what we do, but put your best defender on him, make it hard for him to get the ball. If he doesn't get the ball, he's not going to score. And just make things as hard as possible for him, and then make him defend at the other end. Don't let him just take time off when he gets to the other end. Make him have to guard us too. And like we saw Saturday, sometimes your best scorer gets in foul trouble because they run somebody over. So, make sure that the help's there, for those opportunities too.
Coach, can I ask you about that? I know it's not what we're talking about right now. I felt like the Tar Heels didn't do enough to force the issue of drawing Cooper Flagg's fourth foul.
Saw the interview with Hubert about that. It's a philosophy issue when it comes to coaching. Okay. Do you just run your stuff, or do you go outside what you normally do to try to? And again, what's right, what's wrong? I know there's a lot of people that thought that was just an obvious thing to keep going at Cooper, and it probably was. You got to make him defend anyway. So if he's already in a situation where he doesn't want to get another foul, you're going to get opportunities going to the rim, or get something where he's just going to back off and make somebody else have to help him. Disappointed that we didn't go after him harder. Yes, I must admit.
Yeah. And I'm not asking you to go against the coaching staff. I was just curious your thoughts on it, and I hadn't had an opportunity to ask you about it. So here we are in real time doing it. Let me ask you one more thing about Marcus Burton. Coach, their starting lineup, Marcus Burton's only 5'11". You've got Braden Shrewsbury, Coach Micah Shrewsbury's son at 6'3", is a great shooter. Matt Aloko at the 3 is 6'4". Then you got Tay Davis at 6'9" and Keba Njai at 6'10". This is one of those situations where Carolina's starting lineup change could really affect things. Obviously, you're going to go Jay Witt and Vin Allen Lubin with the two front court guys at 6'9" and 10. But then you got 5'3", 6'3", 5'3". That's hilarious. That would be a whole different ballgame. 5'11", 6'3", and 6'4". Would you at all consider, and I'm thinking like Hubert Davis putting Leaky Black on Kihei Clark of Virginia a couple years ago, right? Like, is there a world in which you put Drake Powell on Marcus Burton and you let RJ and Elliot deal with Braden Shrewsbury and Matt Aloko, the slightly bigger guards, but not that much bigger, to take Burton out of what he does? Is that something you would consider doing?
I think we had not talked about this, but I think you know my answer, because I'm going to put Drake Powell on him. And I love the length. I think length really hurts smaller guards. just because everything is different when you have somebody who is super long, super athletic. When you are super long and athletic that way, you can make a misstep and still recover. And that's why great athletic defenders, have an advantage against somebody who, if they're not and they make a misstep, they're not going to be able to get back. Drake can do that. Drake can make a misstep, get back. He has the length. He can, again, deny getting the basketball first, but then once he gets it, use his length to stay in front, use his length to contest stuff, and use his length not to give up the shot at all. That's my favorite one. Guys are like, well, I contested. I don't want you to contest. I want you to be there so he can't get the shot off. And I think Drake's the best choice for that. That's where I would go. And I wouldn't worry about other matchups as much. Let's focus on the matchup that matters most.
I'm all in on that, man. I would love it. Let's start a petition now. Coach Hubert Davis, let's make this happen. Put DP on Marcus Burton and let's shut out and shut down the nation's third leading scorer. Guys, we got to get to this game. How does Carolina reset after Saturday and get back to the rhythm and the great winning streak that they had ahead of that Duke game? We'll look at that. We'll get a little bit reacquainted with Notre Dame. And then I want to hear from Coach Rob about all their preparation for the national tournament coming up this week. So great for Milligan. We'll get to all of that conversation in just a second. Right after I tell you about Factor. Are you looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Well, Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat up and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 different dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto, or anything else. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and without sacrificing taste. Because I got to tell you, life is busy and I don't have time for it all. These meals, man, they are packed with flavor and helpful to get you going. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off and use code LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Again, that's code LockedOnCollege50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Check it out, Factor Meals. Coach, we'll get to the details of this game here in just a second, but before we do so, Carolina had been on that really nice 6-game winning streak before the Duke loss on Saturday. There was a section of that second half of that game, man, when I really thought Carolina has this. Duke's going to kind of fold here, but Duke was like, nah, we ain't going away, and we're just going to decide to suddenly defend because we're very elite at that, oh, by the way, in the nation's tallest team. So how does Carolina reset following that game and prepare for a win or go home situation? And it's kind of, we talked about the emotion of senior night the other day. It's kind of a little subtly nuanced difference here, Coach, where it's feeling the urgency of a moment like this, but without pressing because of the weight of it, if that balance makes sense.
Yeah. What are we? Are we a team that just lost a game, or are we a team that just won 6 out of 7? And I think that's kind of the message I would send right now to the guys, saying, hey, we've won 6 out of 7. We're playing really well. Obviously, last game was a little disappointing, but let's focus on the positives right now. We've got to continue to focus on what we need to do to get better, but we got to do this together. So let's unify ourselves. We got to believe in ourselves, and we've got to be able to forget about the past. And we've talked about this, press on to what's in front of us and focus more about, us right now and what we're doing well and what we need to do to continue to play better every day.
Man, yes. And that starts again today. So this game, North Carolina against Notre Dame in the second round of the ACC tournament. This will be Wednesday. It's in the Spectrum Center there in Charlotte. The game will tip about 2:30 p.m. Eastern. It'll be after Georgia Tech and Virginia, which is the 8-9 game. The winner of that one going on to play Duke on Thursday in the quarterfinal round. Coach, this game will be on ESPN. Right now, FanDuel has it Carolina -7.5. And let's remember back to the first time these two teams played. It was the only time they played in the regular season. As we said earlier, January 4th up in South Bend. And Coach, it looked like Notre Dame had this thing won. Carolina needed a miracle. Elliot Cadeau hits a 3, gets fouled to tie the game with like under 10 seconds left, makes the free throw to go up one. Marcus Burton gets all the way to the other side of the floor. I think it was 4.8 seconds left, actually. I'm now remembering it. And I got to be honest, Coach, I thought Elliot had two hands on him, hand check, and kind of bumped him in the air. Could have been called a foul. Wasn't. Carolina escaped South Bend with that 1-point win. What do you take away? Because obviously that was a game when Carolina was not playing the starting lineup they're playing right now. They were still trying to find a lot of things, and it was on the road. This is a neutral game in Charlotte where you should probably have a pretty favorable home crowd.
Yeah, I don't think you spend a whole lot of time thinking about that last game. It's a win. The guys remember it's a win. It's a win. Let's not go back. We don't need to talk about stuff. We go back and see what they did offensively, defensively, details, but let's not get into the overall picture of what happened. Hey, we win. We beat them, then we don't have to worry about, thinking about it anymore. But I think we'll be more of a home court advantage, even though it's a neutral site for Carolina. I think a lot of people will come out to support them. And I think that's why, the fan base can have a huge impact on a game like this. So if you're going, I can't go, but if you're going, be loud, be proud. Let's go get them. And I think that would be a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Coach said earlier, you can't just focus on Marcus Burton because then somebody else burns you. To that point, Cade Davis is the second leading scorer, 15.4 points per game. He was the guy that hit 1 of 2 at the free throw line to get Notre Dame past Pitt on Tuesday. Then Braden Shrewsbury, 14 points a game, the third leading scorer. And then Matt Aloko, 9.5 points per game, fourth leading scorer. But he's the dude that really fills it up from outside, 45.5% from three on 3.7 attempts per game. So obviously several weapons that Coach Shrewsbury has at his disposal that Carolina is going to have to take advantage of. Coach, I mentioned it earlier. Did you happen to see the end of Notre Dame and Pitt on Tuesday?
I actually did not. We were in practice, did not get to see it. I heard about it, but I did not see it.
Okay, I thought that it was during your practice time. So basically, it was a very similar scenario to what happened in the Carolina Notre Dame game. End of game scenario, the game's tied. If nothing happens, they're going to overtime. And there's a putback, basically, and they called a very, very, I thought, ticky-tack foul on something. Yes, was there a little bit of contact on the forearm? Sure, but they're both going up for the offensive rebound together. I didn't really think there was that much. And if it's a no call, we're just going to overtime, and that's all it is. So very interesting how that game ended. Really wanted overtime to wear Notre Dame's legs out even more, but it was not meant to be. All right, Coach, the Milligan Buffaloes are headed to the NAIA National Tournament this week. How has your preparation been? How are you feeling? What's the travel schedule? What's your opponent look like? Just fill us in on everything we need to know to support the Buffs this week.
Yeah, it's been tough. It's almost 2 full weeks since we've played. So we did take a couple days off, just kind of relax, try to get healthy, get caught up maybe on some homework. But then got after it again Friday, Saturday, and then this Sunday, just had a shoot around Sunday. And then had a couple of really good days of practice these last couple of days, and then into little shoot around stuff happening. By the time this comes out to live, we're actually being our last practice up there in Williamsburg, Kentucky. So when you do hit it, we'll be a little busy for a little while, but it's a neat scenario. The NAI is similar to what the NCAA tournament. You have 16 host sites, 4 teams at the site. Whoever wins, those 16 teams go to Kansas City. So we're two games away from the Sweet 16, from being able to go to Kansas City and be part of that is really what we want to do. But University of Cumberland's, it's their home site that we're playing in. So it'll be hopefully a hostile crowd to give our guys a little bit of momentum. But it's only 2.45 from campus. So it's not a long drive, which is one thing I really wanted to do. I didn't want to drive to Kansas or fly to California or someplace, one of the other sites. So they do try to keep the first, second round sites as close to home as possible, as regionally. And we've played Cumberland's. We haven't played them in 2 years, but we went a 4 or 5 year in a row. We went up there our first game of the year. So we're familiar with the facility. We're familiar with their style. They're very athletic. They shoot the ball, very well. They're not super big, but they're strong, physical. And it's going to be a war. I mean, it just have to be ready to meet them physically and to handle the pressure that they're going to give us defensively. But I feel good about it. We've won 11 out of 12, 16 out of 19. And when you're winning, you feel like you're going to win every game. Doesn't matter who you play. So that's how our guys are feeling right now. They're very confident. They're very sick of each other at this point, and they're just ready to play somebody else. It's been almost 2 weeks. And people don't realize we practiced during fall break. We played during Christmas break, and now we're playing during spring break. And that's a long season and a long time to deal with guys, even if you like each other. It's just a long time. We started practice back in September, and here we are in the middle of March, and we're still playing. So they do love each other. Sometimes they don't like each other, but it's all part of the process.
Man, I love it. So, Coach, give us the specifics. When is the game? What day is it? What time? And is there a way people can watch if they want to check it out?
Yeah, March 14th is the first round game. It's Friday. We play at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and it's on the NAI website, and it's free. There's nothing, you don't have to pay for it, so you can just log in, just hit the link, and it will be there. You can also find it, I think, on our website, the MilliganBuffs.com website. If you go to our just athletic page and go to men's basketball, there'll be a link there to click so you can watch us play. University of Mobile and Indiana University Northwest is the other game. So if we win, we'll play the winner of that game Saturday. So it's 14th, 15th, Friday, Saturday. And the winner of that goes to Kansas City on March 20th. So not a whole lot of time turnaround. It's right back into it. So, of course, we got to get the NAI tournament done before the NCAA tournament starts. So the Final Four, obviously. So we got to get our championship done before then.
Man, that's so good. It's so fun. And I love that that's semifinal Friday for the ACC tournament. So hopefully, if the Tar Heels do well enough, we can watch the Buffs play earlier on Friday and then get ready for what would be probably Carolina Duke, unless they get randomly upset on Friday evening. Could be a great, fun day of basketball. Coach, I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. I'm so happy for you. So excited for the Buffs. And let me say on behalf of the Locked On Tar Heels family, win or lose, brother, we're so proud of you and the way you lead your men as a coach with integrity and respect. And thank you for the example you set.
I appreciate it. We're looking forward to it. Can't wait.
So good. Let's go. Guys, by the way, I forgot to mention Coach Rob's book earlier in the show. If you've not bought it already, Carolina Basketball School by head coach Bill Robinson, history, stories, and drills. Coach Rob is a 2-decade veteran of Carolina Basketball School. That's Carolina's summer basketball camp, and just has a wealth of knowledge and stories, and so many people that have poured into this book as well. Make sure you check it out right now. Lots of great opportunities. You can get it on Amazon. If you want an autographed copy, reach out to him directly. You can email him and find it that way. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We will have a live post-game reaction show, yes, this afternoon after the game, so get ready for that. Shirk your work responsibilities and come join me and hang out, and make sure you do that. And hopefully we'll be partying and getting ready for another game where Carolina would then be playing Wake in the quarterfinal round. If you've not subscribed to the show on YouTube, by the way, we just passed 10,000 subscribers yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. You guys are insane and incredible, and I absolutely love it. But you want to be the next one. Help us get 10,000 more. Let's get this thing to 20K. That'll be a couple years away, but man, what a fun ride it is. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to have you in there with a whole bunch of great Carolina fans talking Tar Heels stuff all the time. That link is in the show notes. If you want to go even deeper, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders. As we get into transfer portal season, I'm going to just start dumping every transfer portal rumor I have in there so you can be on the inside knowledge of that. That link is also in the show notes. All right, guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again today in a few hours after the game, but until then, peace.